And without no further ado, this big old mama jam is next. Haven't touched it since we rolled it back here after the Grand Holiday Special. The first thing that I'm going to need to do is find my bolts, knock in the fender, so lock the fender in right here, right there, and looks like down there on the sides, so that I know where it's going to land here. And not only do I need to know where it's going to land here, this is, I guess I should point out, this is the 95 Tahoe radiator and cradle. We're going to leave it where it sits. And I'm just going to make the front nose fit to it, so I don't have to change anything about the actual truck chassis. And so we're going to notch in here. Now I already believe that this piece of level of sheet metal here is where I need to be. So I'm going to notch back into this a bit and then cut right up to the flat part of this and see if those fenders lay there flat. If they do, that's where I'm going to put hardware in order to hold it. Once I get that into place, that's also going to tell me where, as far as being like forward or back, I'm going to need to be on the chassis in order to make my mounts correct. So what I think I'm going to do is cut right along this line up to the bottom of this seam edge here, and then cut along this line, where's my finger, up to the bottom of this seam edge here, and have this piece cradle the top of this. And then I'm going to notch that out so I can get a little bit of a variable adjustment going on there, and we'll see how that turns out. I've kind of got this a bit notched out right here for them to mesh together. I believe it's sitting too wide still, but it's going to work out for the most part. It looks like maybe the inner fender well might be in the way of this battery tray, but that's how I can fit. Everything can be moved and trimmed. What I did here, some measurements are kind of half-assed pointless at this moment, so I'm just throwing in some bolts here and here just to hold the fender up, and I'm going to notch the other fender and do the same thing over here. And what I need is from this point here, is that the one? I believe it's from this point here to the same point on the opposite fender, 72 inches. That's what we're going for. That's the magic number. So let me get this other fender up here mocked and snipped, and then we'll see what we're working with. Hey Rocco, no, get down. Alright, where we left off yesterday is I mocked on this fender and the front nose clip and the other fender to get an idea where everything needs to sit. And I really truly believe that the main cab of the car is exactly where it needs to be. So for my next trick, what I'm going to be doing is not letting Rocco Dog jump into the car, but I've got to suspend this where it's at somehow and take this block out so that I can A, cut this mount off entirely because we don't even need it there, and B, clean up the frame here and start mocking up with paper what I do need to have here. And what I'm hoping to do is just make a piece for this side and then make the exact piece but in a mirror image for the other side, and I'm hoping it'll just drop in place. One of my old Monte Carlo mounts that came off the original chassis here, and what the idea that I'm going to do here is really simple. In fact, this is where I want it to be. This is where this mount is now, and I've looked, and it turns out the mount hole is literally right here. It's not very far. Let's get rid of the sunlight. It's not far at all. It's just right here, and it's about to the center of this. Let's see, it's about like that to the center of this. So what I can move this over and raise this, and all I have to do is cut some plate to weld in along the side of this, then weld it to the chassis, and literally just raise this up into place, and it's that simple for the fronts. Now that I'm done chewing this thing off with my teeth, that's my mount. I've got to grind all this stuff flat and make it pretty. See if I can square this up and make it nicer looking so I can move it up in place. And I'm actually just going to bolt it right into the body and take my measurements for my plates from there. Alright, isn't that much prettier now? It's all smooth to the touch and ready to be welded on. So next I'm going to take my bolt and my crappy mount, and well, after I clean up this piece over here, And I'm going to go ahead and just bolt it just right into the hole already, and then see where it hangs. Once I get my height set, I already know it's the car is actually square to the chassis. It's a freaking somehow miracle. And then I'm going to go ahead and make templates for my side plates. Because all I'm going to do is extend the factory mounts and add some bracing to it, and it's going to be good. See, I got my body floating on this bar, sitting on the jack so I can adjust the height. Here's my cleaned up piece, bolted in place. You can see it comes back off-centered from here back to here, and I'm going to get my speed square so I can hold this stuff square when I go. And all I'm going to do right now is just going to tack the inside here and tack the inside here, so I can, and it's actually going to hold on its own. All right, so I got my bead laid down on the inside of this one. I snotted that one a little bit. I was warmed up over here, and so what I'm going to go ahead and do is lower the jack off of here, and we should be good to go. And we'll get some cardboard to make some templates. So I have my paper templates here. This one fits in over here to this side, go all the way up to the top flush. All right, oh, I'm not even filming it. There we go. That one goes in over there, and that's going to reinforce and strengthen this up to the frame on that side. Then this one here, see, it fits right around that little notch there. Sits flat down there, and it's going to reinforce this piece from over here. Let me switch hands. Switching hands, song, switching hands, song. There we go. Now you can see, and that's going to turn into my reinforcement there. I got my pieces cut and cleaned up, as you can see. Drops right in there like that. Fits perfectly. The sun's dropping, and it's getting chilly. Like I said, I'm only tacking this in, but there they are, folks. So you've seen me cut the factory mounts off the truck chassis, raise it to the car, put it right where I need it, and just use some additional plating to reinforce it and make it fit to the chassis. When I get done, I'll be putting a plate across the back here as well, but not now, just later. And the other side's going to be much quicker, and I'm sure I'll be able to get it knocked out really quick, and I'm not going to bother filming it, so we can move on to the rear mounts. I'm going to put this side back together, since now this is actually stationary where it's going to be sitting permanently. And the first issue that I'm having already, because the radiator cradle is much closer to the cab of the car than the original Monte Carlo was, about 6 inches, is getting this inner fender well to fit. So what I'm going to end up doing is shoving it into place, marking it, trimming it, cutting it, shoving it into place, marking it, trimming it, and cutting it, and trying to get this fender well to fit into place, so then I can go ahead and put my fender on and get all the bolts together. And I'm not going to tighten a single thing. I'm just going to put them together hand tight, so I have plenty of room and wiggle to do, and you know, to make adjustments and get body lines correct. And that's how easy it was. I got my plastic inner fender well, and with a bunch of trimming and stuff, and it gives me plenty of room to work on in and around and underneath. Oh yeah. You can see this situation over here is the exact same as the other side was. So I'm going to go ahead and skip through the steps on filming of cutting this bracket off and cutting my plates in and getting them tacked to hold, so I can go ahead and skip to doing this inner fender well and get this fender on for good, so that maybe I can put the nose on for good. When we do that, we go in and taking care of these rear mounts, and after those rear mounts are done, we'll do the doors. So I just got these plates in and tacked up like you saw me do the front side, and the car's stable now. So what we've got to do is go ahead and try to bungee all this stuff up right here, so I can try to get the inner fender well mounted into the firewall here and trim out what I need to trim out here, and we can go ahead and put this fender on. Now you see this big lump of computer, hydraulic brakes, and power brake booster over here, because I got this fender in successfully, and everything's bolted in. I can only hope that it's lined up and that I'm not like misaligning stuff. So now we get to come back here. What did I do with that? Oh, got my jack handle. I started to put a small jack in the rear as you can see. And what I'm going to do is pull this block right here out and let it sit in the center and let the car teeter-totter on that, and see if I can't figure out what I need to do to make the car level to the chassis all the way down. I'm going to cut this body chassis mount off there. I'm going to cut this body chassis mount off there. I'm going to use some bushings and an old Monte Carlo body mount bolt and bolt that into there, and I'm going to bolt that into there. And I'm simply just going to split the difference to center the chassis, the body on the chassis, and then we're going to notch around the frame and just build up to the mounts. And that's going to be it. I'll box them in later. Like I said, this is just so it can get on the trailer. I've been repeating this for the last 2 videos now. I said it a bunch the last video. Just getting it on the trailer so we can put it in storage so I can work on it later. It's a shame that this is what it takes to get me to have to work on something, but shit happens. Now both sides are cut off right there and there. The car is centered over the chassis, but as you can tell by the afternoon lighting, I'm done. And there it is, all kinds of large and in charge. I'm not even sure if I can get the hood. I've torn my bicep recently. I have what's called a Popeye bicep now, so I've been having to rehab and develop the strength back into my arm. Ooh, sorry. So I'm gonna set this thing down and see if I can't figure out how to get this huge old hood over here in place and get it bolted down. Because once I get the hood on and it slides into place, I can actually align the fenders, get the front nose cap on there for good, and we'll be able to get it clasped and everything. Probably just gonna leave the headlights and everything in the van for now, but definitely gonna get the doors on. Not tonight. So I'm going to put a block of wood to protect the windshield, and I'm actually going to get up in the engine bay, climb in there and hold it up with my back while I run my screw on one side and see if I can't get this on and finish it up by myself also. Successfully just put this big old hood on by myself. I mean, it was nasty and I was claiming a victory because it was so gross, but it's on there. It's crooked, but I think it's the hinges. Alright, it's been too long. I actually stepped away from this thing for a week or 2 weeks since the last clip update. What I'm going to go for this morning is I'm going to try to get the doors on it. So I got my door up on a table, and it's still not to the correct height. I'm going to put some blocks under it. But what I've got to do, I realize, we put the hardware in the door and it's been sitting outside this whole time. We'll get a ratchet and a wire brush and some PB Blaster and clean those up, so I won't have a hard time getting it on. Alright, so I got my bolts all cleaned up, and I even did a little bit of paint on the inside, so I'm going to try to put this thing up on a block, see if we can't line this door up and get it started. Body by Fisher, How I Hate You So. I had to come in here and put I was trying just to slap the front end together. It wasn't going to work out that way, so I actually had to come back in here and put the shims underneath all the mount points so the door would line up and quit hitting and knocking. So I got that in now, tighten those down. The door lines up, so what I'm going to get going on, I got to quit saying so. Y'all should just listen to my videos, and every time I say so, take a shot. Bet you can't finish the video. Anyhow, I'm going to tighten this up, and we're going to see how good of a door fitment we got and move on to the other side. Big moment of truth. What a rattly piece of crap. But the door's on. And that door hasn't been on that car for about 2 years, man. It's starting to look, well, it's coming together is what it is. Definitely coming together. You can tell how long the rear chassis actually is now. When the smaller wheels put on, you can see how far back the axle sits in the wheel well. That's alright. That is alright. It's coming together. I love this shit, man. I can't wait to move out to the country and just get fucking weird. And then it's not going to clasp unless I push the bottom up to brace it. But now I've got to go in the rear. I'm going to double check my spots in the front. I might loosen the mounts a little bit that I did up here in the front. And I'm going to go in the rear. It is trying to rain on me, by the way, but I don't care. I'm going in the rear, line this shits up in the back, and put some body mount bolts into the cab here so I can line up and show you what I got to do to get it to weld to the rear end of the frame. If I remember correctly, I did show y'all that I had cut off the mounts here, and they were just flopping around. What I just did was grab a combination of some old bushings here and one of the body mounts, and I took that cut off piece and I mounted it up to the body where it needs to be. Now you can see, you get a good idea of what has to happen. I've done the same thing over here to this side. Now what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to get some cardboard to make a pattern. So it's not in the best placement. I still have to grind all that off real quick. But this is generally for my piece that I'm going to make for now. Once I get to work on it some more, I'll box in the rear end of this side, and I'll box in the front of this side over here, and make it a little stronger, of course. But for right now, I'm just going to cut 4 of these out and get them tack welded so that it holds everything in place, and make short work of it so that I can go ahead and get done with this here and load it up on the trailer. Alright, so I got my 4 pieces cut right here, and you can see how they're going to fit in here. Let's see if I remember. They're going to fit like so, and they're going to notch the frame like that. Alright, so I got my first tower made. You can see it's welded on both sides and been squared up. So I'm going to go see if I can't shove this into place. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to weld my other one together and let this one cool down before I go shove it into place. So let me get that done, and then we'll see how this fits. I've got them tacked into place here. What I'm going to do now is jack up the car, put the bushings in, take the block out. If it fits well, I'm going to go ahead and weld up the bottom all the way around. And that's going to be my brackets. It's kind of hard to see. It's totally shadow over here and sunlight over there. Alright, so there's going to be some future adjustments. So I only just put a fat bead there and a good bead there, and the same thing over here on this side. Did a fat bead right there, and just finished a fat bead right there. So I'm calling that one good for now. I'm going to put some air in these tires. We got the rain coming in. I'm going to see if I can't get this thing outside and load it on the trailer. I'll give you an update in a minute. What happened? Oh, there she is in all her glory. Even though she skipped leg day. I got her rims and tires, the 22s, back in the van over here. So I got this far up the ramps, and my winch battery died. So I had to run my extension cord to the battery charger. I'm only getting a little bit of service charge at a time. So I'm only getting to moving a little bit at a time. It kind of sucks. But this one looks like it's going to fit better than the truck did. A little bit more narrow in the front end, so we won't be stressing those sidewalls like we did with the other thing, with the 53 truck. So, update. That's what this is. Yep. Ta-da! And here we are in storage. We had a safe, smooth trip. Only one of the vehicles, Pecos, showed up and helped me. He also brought the van. It's over there. You can't see it from here, but his truck got a flat on the way here, but it was okay. He had a spare tire. We changed it. We managed to get everybody here safe in one piece. And Monte Carlo's here. And as you can see, we're already getting heavy with the pollen. That's bad. So, anyways, until next time, love what you do. 3, 4. 20 minutes of nothing is 20 minutes of nothing. You just wasted your life watching 20 minutes of nothing. It's not smoking crack, but you can't get it back. You just wasted your life watching 20 minutes of nothing. Thought it was something, my 20 minutes of nothing. It'll improve your life, my 20 minutes of nothing. In the comments below, that's where your opinion goes. And you can tell me all about my 20 minutes of nothing.